Hello, everybody. I'm Bryce Whitaker, and this is the Gamers Lunch Break. Welcoming you on this Friday, and we've got a very exciting guest for you. But first, I'm going to bring on my sidekick for the show, Federico, straight from the offices in Perugia of DV Games. Federico, come on and join us.
Hello, Bryce. Hello, everyone.
How are things in the office over there?
They're going pretty smoothly. We're making huge progress on the last localization we are taking care of, and the new upcoming big hits like Wonderbook.
Yeah, and speaking of Wonderbook, maybe we can tease a little bit more today. I understand that there's a character in Wonderbook called the Samurai. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we may have a group of children that are very interested in some hobbies or sports, and that kind of passion translates into parts of the game as they become the heroes of the adventure.
So, children becoming heroes in a fantasy landscape.
Yes, indeed.
That's fantastic. Well, Federico, I want to talk a little bit before our guest comes on. I just finished a couple nights ago Detective Nightmare in the Mirror.
That's a very good chapter of the saga. Yes.
It is. It is number 3, correct?
Yes, it's the third installment in the detective series.
Yeah, so number 3 in the series, it just hit North America. I have to say, I enjoyed it. There is a kidnapping of a girl named Danielle. You have to figure out where she is. You have to figure out who's responsible. And it was really fun. I played solo. It took me, probably an hour and 15 minutes. And I got the same dang score I got on the other one I played, 8 out of 10.
Well, that's a pretty good score anyway.
Yeah, I always had a perfect score, but I just missed a little bit in the crime scene. But to anybody out there in North America right now, get a hold of Detective Nightmare in the Mirror. Try out the other 2. They are great fun. It is a mystery in a box. Takes about an hour to play, and I have had a blast playing all of them. I like to play them solo because I want to put my own personal brain against the game. But you can play with friends. And I'll talk about the case and fight and figure it out too. But I love this game. Price point is great, just a little over $14. Just for the cost of a movie ticket, you can have a couple hours entertainment with your friends. So great. Detective, Deckscape, check them out.
As today, a quick spoiler, we can just tease a bit about the settings of the next 2 installments of the series, Detective.
Let's do it.
The next chapter, we can call it Detective 4, will be set in the Netherlands of the 1600s. And as for Detective 5, on which we are already working, it will be set in the Las Vegas of 1950s.
Maybe a little crime heist, Ocean's 11 type thing happening there.
Mafia may be involved, an old casino, stuff like that. Usual gangsta lifestyle in the 50s. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited for that. And for everybody out there, please watch our social media, like and subscribe, ask questions about Detective, Deckscape, ask us all sorts of questions about Wonderbook. We would love to share what we can with you. But let's bring on our guest today. He is an American game designer. He has made such great hits as Lifeboat, Who Would Win, and Battlestations. Let's welcome to the show, Jeff Siadek. How you doing, Jeff?
I am damn good, thanks. It's great to see you, Bryce.
Great to see you.
Welcome on the show.
And nice to meet you, Federico.
My pleasure.
And Federico's beard. We always say hi.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's like a whole nother element of it.
Right.
We're coming to you live with technology from all different places around the world. Jeff, it's early morning where you live, yeah?
Yep, I'm out in LA. I'm just by the beach. It's nice.
Yeah, and I'm stuck in the Midwest where I'm nowhere near any beach. And Federico is in
I'm in. This is late afternoon here in Italy, and I'm stuck in the middle of Italy territory. I'm very far away, both from mountain and seaside, so I got nothing to do here. I just play board games, and I'm
That's
fine with
good.
that. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
hey, that's a great life, just playing board games.
Board games is good.
Well, Jeff,
It is
let's
indeed.
talk a little bit. Let's go back, as I like to do with all the game designers, and find that moment, that game, that instant that you knew you were going to be a game designer. What was it?
For me, that was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook in 1979 or 80. I think I first exposed to it, and when I read that, I just could not believe, because I'd always loved playing. Me and my brother would line up chess and checkers and life and Monopoly and Stratego. We'd line them all up across the table and go down the row, taking turns on each one, and play them all at the same time. And my brother's 5 years younger than me, so I would stomp him when I was 15 and he was 10. It was great. But I'd always loved gaming and thinking about games and that. And then here was a way to turn it, instead of just you got pieces on a board, to I'm a character in a dungeon, and it literally changed my life.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between a dungeon and battle stations, in that there's a little locations that kind of make up
Yes.
the game. For those people out there that don't know, maybe they're living under a rock. What is battle stations?
So Battlestations is essentially, you're a character on board a starship, and your starship is on a hex map, and so you're having adventures in space. It's like an episode of Star Trek in space, in a board game form. I tell people it's sort of like Dungeons and Dragons in space. Really, the key, if you're already a gamer, and I imagine most of the people listening are, then really the idea is that you get to be a character on board a starship, and the starship has the modules that do various things. So if you want to turn the ship, you go to the helm and spend helm power and use your piloting skill. And if you want to fire the cannons, you go to the cannon. And the ships are on the hex map at the same time. So rather than, because I love Starfleet battles where you got to have your ships battling it out, but it felt sort of remote. But now here, literally, your character says, "Oh, I'm standing there in the engine when the engine got hit. I take personal damage. Am I going to go to the sick bay and heal myself, or am I going to get that engine back online so we can return fire?" And that's really the gist of it. And it also comes from a standpoint of, I was designing it around the time that friends of mine were having kids, and the prep time for creating a role-playing adventure was, when you're in college or high school, you get all the time in the world, but you want to just sit down and play, and Battlestations does that. You say, okay, what's the mission? Oh, the mission is we got to capture that ship, or fight that monster, or find the missing ambassador, or whatever it's going to be. And you just know it right off the get-go. So it's a board game role-playing hybrid where you've got mission objectives like a board game, but you've got a character and character advancement and stuff like a role-playing game.
Yeah, and it's undergone a few editions. It's been around for a while, yeah.
2004, we first released it, and we had 36 copies pre-sold in 2004. And I thought, oh my God, am I ever going to sell out of 2,000 units if I'm selling? Because traditionally in board gaming back in the ancient days, you'd sell about half what you're going to sell on your initial sell, and then the rest of your sprint run you'd sell out over the course of the next year or two, and it trickles down. So I thought, okay, so we sell 36 now, and then we sell 18 more next year, and then that's it. So it started in 2004, and then we did a revised edition in 2008, which just cleaned up a lot of the typos and stuff, and then in 2016 was when we did the second edition proper, which really blew it up with the miniatures and brought in a lot of new people, and it was a chance to really relook at it. And then just in 2019, we kickstarted the Dirt Side, which is just going to release this year. And that takes the whole starship thing and brings it down to a planet. So the different planets have different things: high gravity, low gravity, poisonous clouds, or whatever. And it also is unmoderated, because that was one of the things was people said, I don't want to have to GM this. And so now the games, it can be played GM-less, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
For okay, from what
No,
I
go
saw,
ahead.
the Battlestation campaign, Kickstarter campaign of 2016 was rather successful because at the time Kickstarter hadn't grew as much as it is today. So you reached more than $200,000 and
Yeah.
more than 1,500 backers, and that was an awesome result for a Kickstarter
Yeah.
campaign back then.
Yeah, and that's still a lot of money for a small company like me. I mean, I'm sort of a one-man show, and then I hire people. Fortunately, I can't do art at all, so I don't try to do that myself. But I can do the writing and the editing and that sort of stuff. So I do everything, and then I sub out what I can't do. And so
And as a one-man army, how long did it take for you to deliver the game to the backers of the campaign?
I think Battlestation, the Battlestation Second Edition was probably about a year and a half to get that
Okay.
out, and then Dirtside, it's been over 2 years. We had the pandemic,
Well,
and
the
that kind
pandemic.
of,
Yeah.
but I still feel like it's on me. I mean, if anything, I've been
No.
stuck in my room where I can be writing, so it's not like I had to go out and shovel snow or something. We don't get a lot
So
of snow.
everyone got that under a train due to the pandemic. So it was a really hard situation to work with.
Yeah.
So I, as a lifelong fan of Battlestations and Dirtside coming out, which is going to open up a whole new universe from on planet. So my first question is, can Battlestation ships actually land on planets? Because I don't know if I know the answer to that.
So yeah, one of the great things about developing Dirtside was that I had all of these rules from Battlestations to go from. So it's roll 2 dice and add your skill number to go against the target number. So that's pretty standard, and it's not innovative. And one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that it's not innovative. It's just, okay, I can roll 2 dice. It's not, here's 12 different dice with different shapes on them, roll and look for the red ones that don't have the little green pips or something. It's just, all right, I need to roll an 8 or better. So taking that mechanic and saying, okay, now we're going to apply it to landing on a planet and doing stuff on the planet. The rule has always been it's triple your ship size is your difficulty to land on a planet. So if you've got a little scout ship that's a size 4 ship, it's going to take a 12. So you got to have a piloting skill of at least 2 or 3 to, And by the way, ships landing on planet, it's always successful. It's just not always very pretty. You will get to the surface one way or another. So there's Dirtside was a fun time to really say, okay, so what happens with planets? And I also got to play with literally the environment and change things up there. So
when we talk about game designs with a lot of game designers, I talk about this idea of layers. And you start with a very basic layer, which I think is you using the 2d6 plus your skill, which in a lot of what I do in game design, that's where I like to start is something just simple. But you've taken it in very unique ways because first of all, your character profession is going to let you re-roll some of those dice.
Right.
If you're the scientist, you can re-roll a science check. Pilot can re-roll a piloting check. But you also have this really cool luck element. Can you tell us a little bit about how luck works in Battlestation?
Sure. Well, first, let me give a shout out to Top Secret, I think it was, or 007 that had a luck or fate points that you get to reroll. And so that planted the seed for me 30, 40 years ago. But then I realized it should be part of the game. Basically, everybody has about 6 points of luck to start with in a given mission, and every time you play is a new mission. And luck lets you re-roll something. So if, for instance, you get boxcars and damage against you and your character only has 8 points, well, you'd be knocked out right there. And that's not fun. So you can use luck to re-roll the dice. And so what ends up happening is it forces it into a more natural fictional narrative where, okay, well, things are getting bad and our luck's running out. And then when your luck runs out towards the end of it and then you get killed, well, you just killed, and that was a tragedy. There's cloning, so you're not, you don't lose your character forever. But luck is really, it allows you to have this adventure and have it somewhat fall into crazy bad die rolls won't screw you over. Is really that's the essential of it. And
yeah, that's you know, when I wrote Baker Street, I had this problem of realistic Victorian combat versus the need for people to survive.
yeah,
And that kind of thing became resolve. You know, the stiff upper lip to see the wound through, to keep
right.
doing whatever you need to do. It's very similar to this idea that, okay, the game could arbitrarily just end the way the dice go, but with your luck mechanic, you can keep it going. And your luck mechanic is so great. I wish I could do it justice just by talking about it. But when you see it in Battlestations, it always leads to an epic finish.
Yes.
And that's what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that. Well, it's because the luck runs out. You'll never have it happen that when your ships get damaged, you make a survival check and you got to roll 2 dice and roll a number based on. So if the first time your ship gets shot and you roll snake eyes, you'd say, oh, my ship's blown up. I guess that was the shortest episode. You know, it's a 5-minute episode of Star Trek there. But because of the luck mechanic, you know, and there's 4 people on board and they all have 6 luck, you're not going to end up with snake eyes. Somebody's going to spend some luck and you'll get out there. But by the end of the mission, everybody's luck is running low and the number you need to roll is higher. And so there's this real sense of, okay, our luck is literally running out. And when it does, we've got to be there. And some of my favorite missions have been at conventions where there's 12 people at the table and we're down to 3 points of luck left and they need a 12. And on the dice, you know, some guy rolls a 5 and a 2, and then he rolls a 6 and then spends a luck, and we're down to 1 luck left and they make it. And that's just awesome. And then other times the ship blows up and you say, you know what? That just provides context for when the game is, for when the luck is there.
Jeff, I want you to talk a little bit about this phenomenon, because the conventions that I've been with you at, your Battlestations, more than most games that I've seen, draws this rabid following. And it is, the amount of people that show up is staggering. The amount of people that stay the whole convention.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me how that's been for you as a designer seeing this?
It's awesome and it's overwhelming. I've made lifelong friends from this, and we'll run. So we have this huge setup. It's like you've seen giant size Settlers of Catan or whatever. But this is Battlestation is normally played on a table like, people would have, but we blew it up to literally 25 times as big. The modules are 5 times as wide and 3-dimensional. So it draws a crowd in and people get to be around the table and play. And I've got a few guys who come and play. One guy who comes and plays literally every game all convention, and it's just awesome. And other people who make it a point to get in at least once a day. And some people who don't play for years and then come back in. And what's great is I get beginners that show up and I hand them a character and a mini. And the minis in this case are like G.I. Joes. They're really awesome. And because of the community of players we have around, they help to guide them through the system. Because if I've got 12 people at a table, like any role-playing game, when you're managing 12 people, you can't really give each of them the attention that they need. But the players that love the game sort of help them along and say, yeah, here's what you need to do. You're going to be rolling 2 dice. And so it's a great community. And then at the end of the convention, we have the blowout on Saturday night where we will have, I think we've had up to 40, 45 people is the most we've had. And so I'll have 3 or 4 people helping me GM it. And there'll be some massive thing going on. And last time there was a convention, we had a dirt side Battlestations crossover. So we had a huge planet layout and we had ships in space and we had the hex map, and it was just awesome. And afterwards, people are just all buzzing with excitement about, man, can you believe that? And it's just that's really, really fun.
One of my favorite memories is being the referee for the Saturday night space race between your ship and your brother's ship. And it came down literally to the last phase. And there were arguments and excitement, and it was such a amazing moment.
Yeah, that was good. It was kind of a sneaky thing because I had said either Jason or I, my brother used to be a lot more heavily involved with the game in the past, and either he or I would run the big games at the convention, and then we say, "Hey, Bryce, how about you run the big game?" And Bryce said, "Sure." And then he said, "Okay, here's the mission. It's a race. And Jeff, you're the captain of one ship. Jason, you're the captain of the other ship." Oh no! So I got dragged in, but it was fun. It's fun.
But who won in the end?
I don't remember, so I'm going to assume it was me because I don't think Jason's listening.
You did win.
Okay,
and you
good.
won 1 hex, and I think it all came down to an initiative rule that had been tucked away in the rule book, because normally back in those days we didn't play crew versus crew,
right?
And Jason wasn't very happy, but that's okay. Yeah. It was exciting, and everybody had a blast. Yeah. So this is one of your great games, but now I want to talk a little bit about what I think is your best game design for the fun and the amount of time that it takes to play. This fun quotient, and it's Lifeboat. And for all the fans out there to see, this is not the real packaging that you get. This is a container I had to make for the very first really big commercial print of Battlestations. We were at a game convention, not Battlestations, Lifeboat. We were at a convention. We didn't have Lifeboat there, but we took the proof copy and cut it up so that we could run it. And so this is like Lifeboat Zero.
Yeah.
Which is my collector's thing, held on by a hair tie because it's so old and well used. But tell us a little bit, what is Lifeboat?
Lifeboat is you're a character on a lifeboat adrift at sea with your secret love and your hated enemy. So you're going to get points for surviving. You'll get points for your secret love surviving. You'll get points for your hated enemy not surviving so much. And there's also treasures and stuff, provisions that were in the boat that are kind of float by you, and there might be points in there that you can get at the end. Also, the love and hate mechanic, which is really the guts of that game. There's somebody because you love and somebody you hate, and there's battles in the game, and you can join in on either side of a battle if you want, or stay out of it. And so it really gets interesting because people will say, "Oh, well, I love this guy and I don't want him to die, but he's getting a lot of treasure. So when he goes to do this fight to steal treasure from somebody, I'm just going to not back him up. I'm going to let him take a wound and think, wait, doesn't anybody love me?" And it's really fun. Oh, and also, so if you love yourself, then you're a narcissist and you get double points for survival, but nobody's trying to keep you alive. And if you hate yourself, then you're a psychopath and you get points for everybody that dies except for you and your secret love. So it's really, I think Tom Vassell described it as diplomacy in half an hour. You know, it really gets people. It's on the list of games that make people hate each other because, you know, there you are, you know, we've got 1 hit point left and you're on the bottom of a boat crying and somebody's going to take your last drop of water and just wait, aren't you going to help me out? And no, I'm joining his side. And you know, that's Lifeboat.
That's maybe why I like it.
yeah, it's because you're kind of like that.
I'm the kind of guy that would throw a bucket of chum in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one. So one of the things in Lifeboat, you can row, which lets you look at the navigation deck to figure out what happens, who goes overboard, that sort of thing. Or you can mug somebody, take their stuff. Or you can do nothing, or you can change seats. You know, that's sort of what you do every turn. And one of the things that if you're in the back of the boat, you get to decide which one of the things that could happen from the people who rowed. And when people go overboard, they take a point of damage to get back in the boat. And then my buddy Steve Ratter, who is Sir Stephen in the game, yeah, he came up with the idea of throwing in a bucket of chum. So somebody goes into the water, you say, "Oh, I'll throw in a bucket of chum," and the sharks bite them for an extra point. And it's always a great source for me because I'm so proud of the game, and yet people's favorite moment in the game is usually the chum bucket situation, and you know, I got to give Steve the props for that.
There's been a lot of expansions for Lifeboat. Yeah.
3 expansions. We did the cannibalism expansion, which that was something that I didn't want to put in the base game because this was, you know, 2007 or so, and there was still a little bit of, oh, we can't have a cannibalism in a game, you know, that won't go in a game store. And now,
Well, but I mean, it's something that happens quite commonly nowadays. So.
Yeah. And then we had Liquid Courage, and then the Weather Deck. And and then the Weather Deck just adds extra cards to make the weather can be different on a hot day. You get thirstier, you know, that kind of thing, and it changes things up a bit. But one of the problems that I've had throughout the entire run of Lifeboat is that the expansions, I would print them literally at the same time on the same press as the. I mean, I'd say I would print them. I hired a printer to do it, but there's some sort of art term for the how dark or light the colors of the cards are, and so if you got the cannibalism expansion and the base game, the backs of the cards didn't quite match, and so you could tell if you held them right next to each other, you could say, oh, that's the hate card for Madame Wong, you know, or that's the hate card for Dr. Harder, and it's so frustrating because we literally printed at the same time, but it has to do with at the first part of the print run or the last part of the print run, whether, you know, how much the ink sort of the saturation, I think it might be. Anyway, so one of the things I'm going to be doing is launching the Lifeboat Deluxe edition, where they're literally printed not just at the same time, but on the same sheet. So you're not accidentally get something from Monday and something from Friday. You'll get it, you know, it'll be all together.
It is something that we at DB Jockey, DB Games, we have something always to deal with, because if you think about Bang, we have the core game and then about, I think, 6 expansions so far, but there are a lot. And we need to have all the back of the cards to match one each other, and to have the same quality of the texture of the card, and also the same hue of color, the saturation. Right. It's really a very costly process. We have to allocate lots of time and people to follow that part, and we have to rely on very huge partners, factory partners that have those high-hand machinery that I can use to print. Well, we sold 3 million copies of Bang, so we have quite huge batches of production each time we have a new print run. So
right.
And it's important, particularly with Bang, because it's the organized play Italian championships, to have that that level of quality that we have on our cards for the competition.
Yeah, and the hidden roll cards in Bang means that if your card is face down and I know the back is different from other cards, then I'll know it's from the expansion, and that's it's not like, does he have a gun or a knife? It's more like, oh, is that guy trying to kill me or is that guy trying to save me? You know, it's pretty crucial.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I was going to show you, we popped this comment up once before, but we're going to pop it up again. Silvano, one of our designers.
Oh, that's cool.
Now you have famous Italian game designers that like your work too.
Yeah. Well, I am stoked. Whenever I when I go to Essen and there's designers there that you know, we meet each other and able to swap games and stuff, it's always for me a great source of you know, I don't even know what to say when somebody says they like my game, and then it's somebody, you know, it's a designer too. It just adds fuel to the fire. It's great. I do have one story about when I was in Essen, and a fan came up and was talking about my games. He said, "Oh, I love your games. You're great. It's so awesome what you do." And I was getting a little chuffed with myself, and I said, "Oh, well, thanks, you know, whatever." And then he goes, and then he said, and I noticed he had a game Vlada Chvátil, and I said, hey, that's really good. And he said, oh yeah. I mean, you're good, but this guy's a genius. This guy is really good. I should have kept my mouth shut and still thought I was the bee's knees.
How are you supposed to take that? Is that a compliment? I mean,
yeah.
What you gonna do about that?
I'm gonna get you a shirt, Jeff, that says "You're good, but you're no genius."
Yeah. Well, he didn't say I wasn't a genius, but he implied that you're good, but this guy. Well, I agree with him. I really love Chvátil's stuff. So I got to say, I love my stuff, but he does some just wild stuff.
Adam wanted to know when does Lifeboat Deluxe launch?
That is a great question, Adam. I am afraid of launching it too soon because I know you're supposed to have your ducks in a row and all of that jazz. I've heard some people say they don't do any pre-whatever, and other people that just buy a whole bunch of ads on Board Game Geek. So I mean, the game itself, it's essentially it's Lifeboat, but I'm just going to print them all together. So there's not going to be any of that. I was talking earlier about Dirtside and Battlestations, the development process of getting it right. The Lifeboat Deluxe is really, I almost launched it this week, so I'd be able to say, it's live now, go, but it's not, so don't. So probably sometime in the next month. That's my guess, because it's got to be out there. Lifeboat's out of print right now, so if you see a copy on a shelf, go buy it, because Lifeboat's not coming back. Deluxe Lifeboat's coming back.
Are you going to launch the campaign on Kickstarter or
yes.
Another platform? Okay.
Yeah, Kickstarter. Kickstarter. When I first heard about Kickstarter, I said, I don't need to go begging for money to launch games. I've designed games and people buy them. And then I saw, and I would go and beg my family and friends for the money to launch my games. And so then I realized, you know what? Instead, I could just ask the people who actually want the games if they want, to help. And they all said, yeah. So that's Kickstarter is a very good thing.
Indeed it is.
I talked to you a little bit earlier, but are we going to see? Is it possible we're going to see a deluxe playmat?
As a matter of fact, I have had that request from several people, and I don't know if it's Bryce once a year for 7 years or 7 different people, but there will definitely be a deluxe playmat as an add-on, because I don't want to have to put it into the box, but enough people want it that, and also the technology has come around to where I think the guy who does the mats says, you could do 1, 5, or 10, or 20. So, if I get 1,000 people wanting it, it'll happen. If I get 2 people wanting it, it'll happen. So yes, there will be deluxe playmats.
Yeah, probably all those requests come from one of my, 200 accounts to you. That is,
yeah.
Just I want the tractor bay back. I want.
Yeah, the tractor bay.
I want Unsinkable removed from the game.
Bryce, he loves to blow up the ship. He loves to blow up the heroes, and when they take Unsinkable, they get a lot of extra rerolls to not blow up, and
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, another game people might not know you worked on, but is popular, especially around the U.S. is Who Would Win, right?
Oh yeah, that is my debating game, and it's essentially this: you get a card that's got a character on it, and I get a card with a character. It could be a random character from history or fiction, and then we get a random event. So you might get Paul Revere, and I might get Paul Bunyan, and the event could be basket weaving. And then you get 20 seconds to say why Paul Revere would win, and I get 20 seconds for Paul Bunyan, and then you get a brief rebuttal, and then everybody votes on who had the best argument. Not who they think would win, but whose argument they like the most. Paul Bunyan's an American folklore figure. Okay. He's actually not in the game because he's a little too obscure. Sorry. But we got Paul Revere's American historical figure too. All right. How about instead Oprah Winfrey and Julius Caesar? Those might be the 2 people. And the event could be kayaking or bungee jumping, and what's great about it is that it gives people 20 seconds to be on the spot and make their argument and have fun, and they create the excitement there. And you can play it with your kids and your family and your mother-in-law and have fun. Or if you play with your buddies, you can get rude and have fun that way. And there's nothing in the rules that say, oh, you can't use naughty words. There's nothing in the rules that says you have to. It's just all about who you're with. Like if you're at school and you need to use the restroom, you say, excuse me, ma'am, I'd like to go to the restroom. If you're at your buddy's house and have to use the restroom, you say, hey, I got to use your John. I got to use your toilet, whatever. And so who would win really is it provides you the context for let's have fun. So, and that one got picked up by Game Right, and they published it for a number of years because they said they could get it into Barnes & Noble, and they did, which is a big book chain here. And I remember when they first asked me if they could publish it, I said, no, I published my game because they said we can get into Barnes & Noble. And I said, oh, well, maybe you should publish my game. And they did well with it for a few years, and I have just redesigned it. Actually, I've got a pile of things that have piled up that I want to release, and that's one of them is a re-release of Who Would Win. Now I've got 10 names on each card, so it's going to be instead of a deck of 100 cards with 100 different things, it's going to be a deck of 50 cards with 500 different things. So it adds for the replayability, and that one's fun. I like that one. One of my favorite things about my game design career is that I've got sort of Lifeboat, which is almost a Euro role play thing, and then the Battlestations is the hybrid RPG board game, and then Who Would Win is the party game. So I get to kind of move around in different circles, and it's fun that way.
It seems like may I go if you don't mind? Okay, so from what I see, you really like making games about people pretending to be a character, whether
Yes.
it is in a Battlestation or on Lifeboat. But if you were to try something very different, which kind of game, which kind of genre would you like to work with? What kind of new game would you like to do?
Well, I mean, that's really, and my kids are mostly grown up now, but when I'd push a stroller, I would just think about what I want to think about and where I want to be, and different game ideas happen. I love that process. I always say that my favorite person to go on a long drive with is me, that I just get to think about whatever game idea comes into my mind. And there's this initial excitement of, wow, this is totally new and different and interesting. And there could be lasers and unicorns and I don't know what kind of magical stuff is happening. And then as you eventually design it, you say, okay, well, I got to lose the unicorns. And eventually you get to where it's going to be a game. And then, I would say I probably have a dozen game ideas a week. And I actually think through and write out the notes for, maybe one or two of those, and end up building a prototype for, one or two in a month or 2 months, just whatever. And so really I get to play in whatever sort of comes to me, that whatever. And my way of, I've got a lot of editing to do for Dirt Side, and I've got, the sort of nitty gritty stuff of getting all the miniatures printed and that sort of stuff. That's my job right now, is to get that stuff done. And then the way I play hooky from that is to say, oh, well, let's think about some game. One game that I'm actually is just sort of on the horizon is Love Conquers All. It's a relationship game where you're playing tiles onto a board that fit in a way, and each tile that you play represents a problem that can be in a relationship. And so it could be friends or religion or work or travel or whatever. And each one has a separate rule, like my plays have to be next to another play, or they can't be next to another play. And so in this one, you're not really a character, you're just, and then when you play a love card, it turns that over so that you don't have to follow that rule anymore, that you say, okay, we've worked out that travel problem. So that is something that my first thought is just, what's this like and what's it fun? And then my second thought is, maybe this will win me the Spiel des Jahres. And then my third thought is, no, it's not, but it still might be fun. And, and So you have to be in love with the game to get it, to take the effort to get it to prototype stage. And if you don't love it so much that you're willing to, spend a couple hours cutting up little pieces of cardboard and working out all the details, if you don't love it that much, then nobody's going to love it by the time you're done. And invariably, when I get to the end of a game, I look back and say, man, if I'd have known it was going to be this much work to put this together, I wouldn't have started on it. Because it's just so much to go through. And actually for Battlestations, I'm realizing that because I was literally there at the beginning of it, and people that I taught stuff along the way, my playtesters and Bryce too, that as you know it, as it goes on and add more and more layers and more stuff going on, because you already know the early part of it, it's not as big a barrier to entry. But if we were to sit down right now, Federico, and break out Battlestations and say, all right, let's play, Bryce and I know so much about it already that you'd say, wait, what's going on? There's too much to learn here. And so I'm going to be doing a light speed version of Battlestations that will take that to where there's no, Bryce, you'll appreciate this, no peeking, no popping, no Overwatch, no ook. And there's things that make the game more interesting and fun tactically, but your first step out of the gate shouldn't be, okay, here's all the tactical depth in the universe. It should be, oh, I'm gonna shoot my blaster. All right, roll 2d6 and get an 8. That's the thing that you want to try to.
Are you thinking about it as a standalone game or as
Absolutely.
a variant in a rulebook? Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be, the rulebook's probably going to be 24 pages or 32 pages, just very light and simple. And everybody, I see Brian doesn't like ook.
We're putting that in just for you, though. Your games will have it, Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Brian's one of the guys. He's one of the guys I met at a convention, and he ran the same character at a convention for 15 years, and eventually retired the character he went beyond the rank system and was the highest ranking character, in the history of the convention, and retired, I think, as the president of the galaxy.
If you followed the Dungeons and Dragons power creep system, you would have a new divinity in the game.
Yes.
Or something like that. So.
Yeah. And power creep, that's something that's from the design standpoint, every time I do a new book, a new edition, a new something or other, I want to say, all right, let's update what we did before and add new stuff that's fun, but make sure it fits in so that it's balanced, because you don't want people to say, oh, well, there's no point in playing anything but the new species because the new species has all the bells and whistles, and I learned things over the year. That's the Battlestations. I'm the designer of Battlestations, but the collaboration with the community is super important, because they're the ones who tell me, everybody in my group takes Nimble because you get an extra action and it's so powerful. And so I said, oh, okay. So I lowered the amount of uses of Nimble, so you can still take it and it's still powerful, but you get a chance to rebalance things.
You can adjust it, and that's important when you have a living game in that context, because you're dealing with power creep, you're dealing with system mastery, where you're presented with 10 options and 3 are clearly superior to the other 7. But yeah, as your game goes on, you confronted with these ideas, these challenges. I think a basic Battlestations is great. I think I would use it all the time for new players.
Oh yeah, Richard Garfield, when I gave him a copy of Battlestations about 10 or 15 years ago, he said, "Oh, this is great. I can use it to teach my kids role playing," and that was just that was gave me a spiffy smile, because I said, "Okay, cool. That's the guy," because he is just one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I mean, I want to be insanely jealous of him and his talent and his success, but he's such a sweetheart of a person that I can't be jealous of him. I just say, oh, good. I'm glad it's him with all that instead of me, because I like him a little bit more than I like me,
Jeff, before we go here, what games are you playing right now that you enjoy that aren't your own?
I am playing Terraforming Mars, and Ghost. I play that with my family, and also we play a lot of Splendor, and I play a little bit of Ticket to Ride with my daughter. It's really being trapped in the pandemic has gotten us a chance to play more games with the family, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure you and I will hang out soon, hopefully
Yes.
at WinCon. We'll stop there for today. For Federico, Jeff, and the Gamers Lunch Break, I'm Bryce Whitaker. Join us next week. We'll be talking with the people from Genos Games, learning how games are localized in Italy. And if you have any other questions, please ask them in our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. And as always, just say hello to us in our Discord channel as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, fans.